And so check that and MirrorMe is actually a great one to use because it allows you to make really complex looking design with very few steps. So we're going to start with that. We're going to create a design, and then we're going to turn that into the layered file that you can take away from it. And I'm going to share the screen right now. This is going to switch over to there. That should be my my Illustrator page. So you guys can see that I've got the MirrorMe window right here already, and this actually pops up. So if you go to the plugins that you have, you look at your toolbar, it actually looks like a butterfly, and that's the MirrorMe tool. So when you go into this, you can see once you click it, it gives you this kind of a network that you can see of where your designs are going to go. So if I was going to stick with this right now, I would have 8 areas that this is going to fill. And if you look at the area that you can see doesn't have the white background up in the top corner right here, you can see, then it also has the 2 small, actually, let me just set this down. There, you can see that this right here isn't filled. And these 2 arrows here show you that this is actually working surface. So right now it's saying, do you want to apply to layer, persistent, apply to selection, or cancel? What we want to do is we want to apply this to the layer. And this is going to show now where we can work with in this layer, and this is where it's going to be located. I'm actually going to hit undo because we want to bring this up toward the center. And I actually think I want it to be a different section of it. So let's come back over here. And in the window, we can see that it says number of axes. We're going to go from 4, which was giving us the 8 different pieces. And then we're going to up that. So I like to do stuff with 6 a lot of times because it's not something that's standard. And it tends to look a lot more interesting once you're done. So you can see there right now we have more of the sections to fill. And they're narrower, obviously, because we're switching from a 4 section, which will be bigger, to cutting it into 6, which obviously is going to be smaller than 4. When you're looking at like a piece of pie, for example. So right now it's saying it's at 90 degrees. And I think I want to go to probably, I think 180. Let's try that. I think I may want negative 180. Okay, that moved it. Now wait, 1.0. There, and you can see there it actually went over to the left. What I actually want to do is to the right. So I'm going to go with 90. What is that? Going back around 90, 45, 60. Let's try, or 45. Let's try going to 45. See what that gets us. I'm getting closer. So I think it was 60 that I wanted after all. Okay, so no. Let's go back to 45. And we'll just stop here so that we can start moving. So I'm still going to place it around the center. I'm going to apply to layer. And I'm going to move this guy out of my way since we're not going to worry about this right now until we actually go through and lock the design in. So now you can see the 2 bars right here, and it's showing us some guidelines there if we want to go in tabs on that. And I just want to get the pen tool, and I'm going to start making some various line. So I'm gonna go here toward what looked like the center. Of course, it doesn't give us the handy tool anymore, but you can see now that this is giving us, and this is actually connected. So you can see that piece right there. It's going to be connected all the way around as long as you pull back to where your other line was, and like, or it actually connects it when you create it. So anyway, let's get the shape tool and let's put a circle in here. And one of the interesting things you can do is if you want to, you can actually do the circle offset from what your work area is. And I'll show you, you can actually do a circle here. And that's going to duplicate all through there. Or you can create a circle here, which then will go on either side. So you only get 6 of them because that's how many axes that you have. So that's an interesting way of looking at it. These are the main folds if it was a piece of paper, and then these are kind of the pleats in between. So next, let's go back to the pen tool and let's do some fun stuff. Like we're going to come up from here. Oops, see there, I'm actually working on the wrong one, and it told me I'm not over there. I'm actually going to be over here. So I want to come up there. And now we've added a spike every other pleat on here. Let's see, let's go from the circles to each other. That could be an interesting pattern. And now that creates more of a solid pattern than you expected before with having all the circles. So I'm going to kind of do a few more things here just to see what we can get. And then we're going to talk about how this can then be used as a layer file. And I'm doing all this right now. So this is from 0. If you wanted to get even lacier with this, let's say we go back to the circle. And we're going to say that right here now is going to have a small one. And actually, I think these are filled. So you can see that if we unfill them right here, then you would see the line in between. Excuse me. So let's make it a little bit more. I'm going to grab the pen tool. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to cut across. And let's do something that's on the other side. Actually, I kind of like that getting by itself, so let's undo that. Undo the point. And let's look at this. I think one of the things we can do, and it's been a while since I've used this plugin, so bear with me, but I think we can now come across once we've turned off this layer. And now we can, yeah, here we go. So you hit remove axes on the window, and then now you can see you have the original one, but you can now take the MirrorMe across and see what kind of a pattern you can get out of it. So it's kind of like a kaleidoscope now. So let's look at it. That was kind of interesting right there. So apply a layer. Oops, what happened? No, that didn't give us what I was after either. So like I said, bear with me. But this is actually one of the really fun things that you can do with it. And maybe it's because I have that here. I think that's it there. So you can see it's added the detail across from it. And we can keep going with that too if we wanted to. We can pull it off again And that was kind of like pumpkins right there. Where did it go? I missed it. There, kind of like pumpkins on this section right there. And then this is an even different star pattern that you have. So you can really, like I said, you can really have fun with it. So now let's undo a couple times to go back to what I had made. There. Okay. And there. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to focus on making this a complete pattern. So if we're going to turn this into a layered pattern, we want it to be circles. So yeah, we're still active. So let's then create a line that carries across between those circles. And it makes it a solid piece right here by doing that. Kind of want it to be a little bit more fancy. So let's start here. Make maybe it sharper. There we go. And let's do something inside here. So let's go straight up. Makes kind of that old time star Christmas topper feel. And then we haven't done anything down in here. So let's go down and up. And you can see you're making a star now that you probably wouldn't have thought to make if you were just using the star tool or if you're just using the pen tool. So this makes a lot of easy, you know, really looks complicated, but it was very easy for you to do. So now I'm going to remove the axes and turn the active off. So that means now we should have there. This is all our design. So I'm going to resize this just a little bit. And then that'll be our large piece. I think those centers need to be joining. So get in here and hit Command J. And it looks like we got all the we want. There we go. And same thing here. We've got these that don't go together. A couple actually. Probably just. Oops. No. This is where the cleanup begins. And this is something that I know a lot of people don't like, but it's pretty easy and it goes pretty fast. You just want to select, I like to use the A arrow for the direct selection tool, the white arrow. And I just go through and I select each one and hit Control J. And you can see that one, and oops. That's a filled shape. I don't know that. Okay, so there, and this guy, and it takes a few, but you'll end up with a nice design in the end. So just want to get those two of those. And yeah, if I had paid attention, I probably could have made this line closer in the MirrorMe when I was making them. And if I had done that, then I wouldn't have to go back through and do all this. You can tell by that little curve that it made that something was the same. And I'm not sure why. I'm gonna Control A, and I'm gonna tell it that there are no fills. Or just not gonna let me. Let's see. Well, I'm gonna select this guy, which seems to have a fill still. It's making it kind of a pain for us to work. So this is gonna go up and just clean it up, spend a little time. When you do something right, then people will know. So if you decide that you want to sell a file, going through and making sure all of these little details are cleaned up and done will make buyers want to come back to you, because they know that you'll spend the time to make sure that you're selling a quality file and not just, tossing something out there that's riddled with mistakes or with places like, for example, you can't cut this out if it's not a single line. I mean, you might get close, but depending on the material you're working with, that little gap can mean the difference between it not having the full cutout or it having the full cutout. And I'm going to step up here and check these guys. That's every other, so you can get an idea that you don't need to check right here. We're just looking for every other point. I know, people don't tend to have patience for it, but I just kind of look at it as it's part of the job. It's part of what you're doing. We can see we've got something going on here that looks like it's filled shape again. So we are going to unfill, and then that way we can see, it's filled. Is by having it filled, oops, then it hides where the lines are. So I'm going to go through and select all these circles real quick, and we are going to unfill them. And for those who may not know what I'm doing, actually, I just thought of this. When you select an item, it actually will show you over here in the toolbar what the different pieces are for the shape. So the solid is actually if there's a fill, and down here you can change it to white or whatever color you have, like you can have the foreground color. Here you can add a gradient in as the color for each of them. So like there, for example, I'm changing everyone to a gradient, and it pulls up the gradient tool. So I could actually affect that if I wanted to, and make it, this might be something that you want to engrave on each of them. But we're not doing a gradient tool. We're actually going to say, no, I don't want any color at all. And that's this red stripe right here. So right now we have the stroke right here, which is black, and we have the fill as nothing. So if you wanted to, you can go back to default, which is a white fill and a black stroke, or you can change the colors. But for right now, this is what we want. So we're going to come back over here, and I think, yeah, you can see that all of these are filled. So we're just going to pull the fill off of this real quick and see what that gives us. I think we might end up with a line inside. There and there, yes. So that can make it interesting. So now you have a really skinny design. A lot of people don't want to cut anything that's this skinny. So what we want to do is we're going to select all, and we're going to come over to the stroke, and you can see that the stroke right now is 1 point. And I could say, take it to like 10 points, or take it to 14, and that looks like it's giving us a nice solid there. So you can see that's going to cut out as a solid. These will still be rings on the design. And you can go in and modify any. So like, for example, if you wanted to make sure that there weren't any problems with the way it's laid out, if you wanted to make it work a little differently with the fills that you're getting. So like right here, that's going to be an interesting shape because it's a point and a flat. Right here, you can see we're getting kind of this interesting drop off that I'm not sure you want to have. Like here, you can see that there's a cutoff, but I think that's because, yep, there we get it filled shapes again. So, and it won't just let me unfill everything, which is really kind of a mean. So I'm going to come through, and anytime that you can select within a shape, like right there, and you can see that it's filled, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to select it. It's like these guys are not filled. I can't select. This one is filled. That one's filled. And I think they already got. No, I guess we didn't get these guys. So let's go back there and get these. And I have tried having it where the default is unfilled, but it's something you have to manually do, and then every time it updates, it actually takes it off. So how did I work this? I think this one is there. There we go. Now you can see they're all still filled. And we're going to clear. So now you can see there aren't any odd cutaways on the stroke like there were a second ago. So let's go ahead and say that this is going to be good enough. I'm going to stick with it. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Object, Path, and we're going to outline the stroke. So now all of those lines which have the stroke on it, which you can modify, are now shapes. So you can't modify them anymore. They don't have a center line anymore to move around. So this basically turns them into a solid piece, which actually we're going to get to in a second, because I'm going to merge all of these with Unite over here in the Pathfinder box. But yeah, it makes it so you can't really edit the physical shape anymore, other than going in and like modifying where the outline goes if we want it to go. So we're going to take a quick look at that, I think, and we're going to see if we want to change it. I don't think so. I kind of like where we're going with this. And you can see that, you know, this didn't take a lot of time. I actually made a couple of mistakes, so we're actually further into the time than I could have been. So now we say, okay, this is our shape, and we want to do something where we're going to have layers on it. So this is the back layer, let's say. And this now is going to be a solid cutout, which actually you can't have this guy in the center without adding him in. So I'm going to come back through here, and I'm going to hit Pen tool. Actually, I'm going to unselect and hit the pen tool, and we can see that somehow we need to connect this to the rest of the shape, or we have to get rid of it. I'm kind of partial to it. I kind of like it. So what I'm going to say, we're going to come here, and we're going to come to the center of this circle. And I'm going to come here and go to the center of that circle. And you can see it's filled. So now I actually want to flop that and make it a no fill black stroke. And I think we did 14 before, so let's do like a 10 coming back in. It's a little thinner than the rest, so we'll get a little bit of a difference. It probably won't be much to notice though, because it's right here in the center. And I can see that, you know, this is my center piece. So I'm actually going to take this, I'm going to go to the rotate tool. I'm going to kind of guesstimate right now because I don't see the guides that you normally get for the center of the piece. So judging by the stars, I think we're going to go about here for the center. And then now we can say, you know, how many of these do we want to, how many degrees do we want to offset this? So let's try 45. And then you can hit tab and you can see what it's gonna do. And you can see that 45 is not enough for what we want. So let's go to 60 again, which actually offsets it perfectly, which makes sense because we offset it at 60 before. So we're going to hit copy to make sure it's doing it the same. And then the nice thing that you can do is now that this has done that movement for us, we can use Control D for duplicate, and we can duplicate it all the way around the circle. Okay, so I think that's good enough. We do have a little bit of funky edges here on some of these, but I'm gonna just go ahead and select them all. And I think I can just move these back to a 14 instead of a 12. We actually went down to 10. So let's go back to a 14 and you can see it smooths all that out. Probably could get away with 12, actually. Let's see. Yeah, 12, we don't have the same issues either. So let's do that. And we're actually going to take these, go back to object, path, and we're going to outline stroke again. And you can see now these are all shapes that I'm going to hit V, which is the black arrow, the selection tool. And it's going to select this piece that we've already made into a shape. I'm going to come over here to Pathfinder and I'm going to unite. And now we have a full shape for the background of the piece. So what I like to do is when I'm working in something like this, I like to, see, I keep noticing more and more. We need to add a line like up here in order to make sure that we get the whole thing. Otherwise, then this outside ring. And we like the outside ring. So again, we're going to do P. And this is the kind of thing that you'll notice just as you're working. Just go to the center, come up here, and there. Now we said our stroke was, let's switch this back, our stroke was 12. And that looks like it has a little bit of an issue. Let's actually go in and we'll move, I'll hit the A arrow, direct selection, and we can see where that anchor point is. Select the anchor point, and then you can move it just a little bit so now it connects on both sides perfectly. So now, we guessed it, we're going to take this piece, and we're going to guess at the center again, because I still don't have the center. I wonder if we no. So I can check the center on this by coming down. I pulled the guide down from the ruler, and I can come down here, which these marks right there are the center. So the same difference, I can come over here, pull a guide out from the ruler, and then these marks here are the center. So now when I look at something, it should be that I select this and I actually then rotate it. I hold Alt and I come up to the intersect between the two guides. And that should be my center. And you can see that 60 degrees is what we did before, and it's perfect for this. So we're going to copy, and then we're going to Control D, 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 D. And then now we have the connect lines. So I'm going to come back around. I'm going to select, 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 select. Select, and let's get up here and select this one. And we're going to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to go down the path, outline stroke, and then now we're going to select, you hold shift and select both and unite. So that's our shape. And I have to say, you know, for a quick shape, it looks pretty good. This would be a great ornament. Make a snowflake out of it. And we're going to make, I'm just going to do a basic layering for you guys so you can see what it would look like as a layered item. So the layering part is actually really simple if you're just going for the basic style, which is stacking the pieces on top of themselves. And you can change how you stack it for a different look. I have a couple that I can find photos of and maybe post with the video. But it's a simple star like this that I then shifted, you know, just a little bit with each layer that I glued on. So then it looked like this really neat kind of curved piece that came out of it. So it was really, really nice to see. Otherwise, these will stack up and it will feel like the same mandalas that you see that people have been cut out in a shape of like a horse or something. And then they just put this in and it's got layers out, out, out. So let's show how we do layers first. I'm going to do it in color so that you guys can see the various colors like they were painted. So I'm going to start with a dark green at the back. And we're going to take this and then we're going to go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and we're going to go negative since we're getting tighter and tighter into the design. So I'm going to say, let's go half of 1/8. So that's minus 0.06 and hit tab, and then you can see where that puts you. And it doesn't look like it's very much for the offset, so let's try going minus 0.12. And you should, I think that's it. That would be too much. It's hard to see with everything being selected. So let's go back to 0.06. I think this is a little tight probably, but we're going to change the color. And now I'll add an orange. And now you can see that if you stack these together, then we have this offset that you'll see when you paint them. I think that looks a little tight. So now I'm going to go Object, Path, Offset Path, and we're going to go minus 1.2, which is 1/8 of an inch, and see what that does for us. And this is a 10 by 10 star. So, you know, we can cut in, oops, I think it only did the center there. Actually, we only wanted to do the orange, so it looks like it's selecting everything. And I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit to make sure. And okay, so we are going to Object, Path, Offset Path. That's odd that I'm not saying that do anything else. So let's do 0.06 again. And remember, this is brand new each time, so you're watching me have some issues with it that I'm not sure why we're having many. So I'm gonna get okay with that, and that's kind of odd because it's only giving us those circles. So I'm gonna delete that, and I'm going to select from back here. I think maybe we're probably already too thin, so we may end up going under the green and pulling it out. So one of the other tools that Astute has is it's got this measurement tool, and you click it and you can actually take their little square and you select a spot, and then you can drag across the line there, and you can see that this is 0.07. So if we did a 0.06, there would be hardly anything there, and that's why the 0.12 is just a little bit that's left. So what we want to do then is we're going to take the green and we're going to go the other way. And now we're going to do Object, Path, Offset Path, and we're going to go, instead of minus, we're going to go 0.06 outside. So you can see there it's starting to fill in some spots. I'm going to clear off that dynamic measure since we don't need it anymore. And now this one is going to be, let's pick another color. Let's go with pink, something a bit different. And now we can see that it's going down below. When we have the pink layer, we're going to do exactly the same thing. Object, path, offset path, and this is going to be the same distance. And we're going to make that cyan. And I think this needs to actually push. No, we're doing the right thing. Okay, so now you can start seeing that there's some spots here that just don't make any sense in this layer. So I'm going to come in here, and you can do it this one of two ways. You can look at it and say, okay, I'm going to go to the A arrow, the white arrow, and I am going to, just select these and delete, and clean them out because they look like they're going to be too small to actually do anything later. And I don't want to have a teeny little hole cut in that layer. So we come across, fortunately, this is only on every other, so we don't have a lot to do. And what you want to do is you want to make sure you're just selecting that little piece. And then with the white arrow keys, they actually just select one section or one anchor. So you've got to delete for the rest. If you're using the black arrow, then you would have to actually dig down into the group itself. And once you did that, then you can select them and delete them by basically one click. But first you'd have to dig in, and a lot of people don't want to mess with that. This is kind of the easier route. Okay, so that looks better. And then we're going to end up coming down and doing the same thing as we get into other layers. Like I can see something in the pink right there. So as long as I'm seeing it, then we just want to go in and find it and take care of it there. So you can see it's a little offset. That's why we only have that in a couple of these. So there. And we've got some interesting pattern going on there, which I don't paint. So it's kind of nice. Now we're on the cyan layer. We're going to come back to the black arrow, the V, and I'm going to select the cyan layer. And we're going to do the same thing. And I'm going to do this until it actually fills the whole design. So that we have a kind of a flat back on the end. And then I'll show you all the layers in between. So offset path again at 0.06. And you can see that's filling in some stuff. You can't see it because it's cyan. So let's change the color. And we're going to go with, let's pick one of these other grains. That's a little close, isn't it? There, we'll pick this grain. So now you can see that we're pretty close to filling all this in. Same thing. I don't see anything that needs to be deleted on this layer. Oh, I guess there is some teenies. No, that's nice of it. So we'll leave it. We'll probably get rid of itself in the next one. So path, offset path, and another in. Yeah, you can see it's going to fill itself. So now let's pick another color. I'm going to go with dark blue. So you can see stuff is filling itself in, and I think we don't see we have one more. So we'll go one more, and then that'll give us our solid layer in the back because we have holes here too. So I'm still selecting on the dark blue, and I'm going to do object, path, and offset path. And now I think we'll have everything filled, and then we'll just go ahead and delete a little bit of extra that's there. So let's do something bright so that we can see it. I don't think the yellow is right on the white because you can't really see it. Let's go with the bright red. And then now there's only these little holes left and these circles. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to get the A arrow, select them, and get those out. Now, I think we ended up with about 8 layers. I'm not sure. I'll count them in a minute, and then I'll pull them apart and show them to you so that you can see how they're done. And you can choose to do every other layer if you want to when you're actually creating your piece. That'll give it a bit more of a gap in between, and I'll show you what that looks like too. Oops. Just want that center. Here we go. I think I might be close to done. There we go. Okay, so let me pull this back out here. So this is our finished piece. If you save, and I'm going to go off of the whiteboard of the artboard here. If you say, you know what, this right now, and you can see it's a lot of layers. Oh, I didn't count the colors. Let's count the colors. We actually only have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers. So it's not as complicated as it looks. I thought for sure we had about 9 layers. I think that's what I said earlier. So now I'm going to pull these across, and you can see. I'm actually going to size them down. No, I don't want to size them down because of the things that we did. I'm going to pull this across, and I'm going to take the orange one off here. So that's our top. And then the green is the next. The pink is the next. The turquoise, you can see all those little bits. You can go in and clean those out since I'm not actually being shown. So I usually go in and I just clean them out with the white arrow. The yellow, get a little bit closer. The blue. And then the red. So you can see it's easy to make something that looks complicated in the end when you have this. Now, the other thing you can do, and copy this off so we can see it, is you can say, you know what, I don't really want that thin of a margin when I'm starting to cut this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take out some of the layers. So I'm going to take out the blue layer here, which gives us a bigger margin. I'm going to take out the light blue layer, cyan, and I'm going to take out the green layer. And now you can see, I'm actually going to change the orange over to something else so we can see more easily here. This is the dark blue. And now you can see at 4, it doesn't quite have the same look, but it is something that's interesting in itself. So you can easily do that. One of the things you can do too, like I was saying before, let me move this guy off, is we're going to select this guy over here, and I'm going to copy him down, and we're going to shift these guys. So I'm going to set the rotate. Here we go. I'm going to grab the blue. This may or may not work well, but it'll give you the idea of what I'm doing. And I'm going to go to the center, and I'm going to shift the blue by 12 degrees. Oh, that's pretty good. Let's shift it by 6 degrees. It's still pretty big. Let's go to 3, just since I'm trying to show a point. So you can see, actually, I shouldn't have started with the blue, should I? Let's go back. Let's start with, you know what? Let's start with, not sure, it looks like the blue. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we're going to shift. Let's take this, and you can probably take everything above it too, if you wanted. So let me undo, and then I'll select all but the red, and we'll shift them that way. And I'm going to go to rotate, and hold with a circle, the center, and we're going to do 6 degrees. So everything moves that much. And we say, okay, now we're going to take off that back one. So the blue's left. We're going to rotate again, select the center. And you can see that it's now this. I'm going to rotate again. This is just a good way to know how to rotate stuff too. You want to make sure it's mathematically correct. So we're going to then shift the rest. There we go to the center. Okay, and we've only got a couple more, so let's going pretty quickly. Sorry for the slow start on this too. I'm still kind of under the weather, so I'm trying to remain a little bit perky for you guys, but because I know I want to make sure that I don't disappoint you. Let's see, and this will be our final shift. There. So you can see now this might be, oops, sorry, I copied it. Here, we'll just take the other one. So you can see you might not actually want to do them as far as I did, but this at least gives you an idea. So it shows that you can shift the design and then you can create something that looks even more interesting because you're taking up more space with it. The colors are being seen more and you're creating more interesting shapes underneath because of the way that the shift goes. I probably should have done this by 3 degrees and or less. And that way it would be much easier to get an idea of what it would look like in person. But I think I pretty much covered everything that you need to know to be able to do these pieces for yourself. And I think that these skills then will lend themselves to being able to do more interesting designs in the future because you know the basics of how these work. I am going to check on I have this Zoom as well. I'm going to check on the chat and see if we have any comments. No. Okay, so I'm going to come back out to quit sharing. And I'm going to come back out to me. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I have some other ideas for sessions coming up. I'm doing these every Wednesday, and I'm trying to do them with what people are asking for. So if I'll see them ask me a question like, how do I do this? Or how do you decide this? Then that might be the next topic for a session. I do want to get into more Q&A, but I think that the 2 o'clock time zone probably isn't great for that. Time slot. I try to make it so that it's 2 o'clock on the West Coast and in California, which is where I am. And then it shifts over to being about 5 o'clock on the East Coast. So I know it's around dinner time, but I don't know when people actually have dinner anymore. So if there's a lot more interest in having it in a different time slot, then I'm more than willing to do that too. This seemed like, I think it was early afternoon and evening was what people voted for in the poll that I did last time. I know some people did say morning. So if you prefer to switch it, then let me know in the comments, or I will post another poll in one of the groups, probably in the laser designers group, which if you're not part of, then go ahead and find that. I have lists in all of my groups that show what other ones I'm in, or you can just search for it. It's laser designers group. And you should see that it's being run by me. And then we can move from there, because I'm really excited at being able to share the techniques, being able to share my knowledge that I've gotten over the past 25 years, more actually. But um, it's great to know that I'm helping people, and I really do appreciate you taking the time. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. We're a little bit early, and I will see you next time.